Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cloud-Based Mayhem. I have a few things of housekeeping before we get into this one with Philipp Zellner, who just broke the record and then broke it again, actually, after we had our talk out in India with a couple of monster FAIs. So that's what this show is mostly about, but about acro and a bunch of other things. But before we get to that, a couple of things housekeeping. First is the show with Russ Ogden and Nick Grease, the spring tune-up, has received a lot of praise and a lot of thanks and a lot of gratitude from folks for that one. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do. There's tons of great information, especially as we dive into spring flying here, where things tend to be a little rowdy and we tend to be a little bit rusty. So thanks again to those guys for so much good information. If you haven't heard it, check it out. The other one is I got a lot of feedback from people on the show with Nicolay, who had the incident in Chamonix and had to throw his reserve after breaking some A-lines, and some people reached out that said that they had experienced, not on that wing, but had experienced various gear failures, and some of them could have been really heinous, especially Neil Michaelis had the XR7, that had the recall a little while back, and also got kind of pin-locked trying to throw his reserve, and luckily that mostly worked out, but it brought to my attention that there is sometimes, not frequently, thankfully still, but there are gear failures, and we need to be certainly on top of recalls, which do happen from time to time, and also paying attention to our gear. I mentioned in the show that one of the times I threw my reserve, the handle just popped off the bag, and I was amazed, and when I sent it back, the manufacturer was amazed and claimed that it wasn't their bag, it wasn't their handle, although it was their handle, but it wasn't the sewing job that they had done. So, and I had a listener ping me that said that's insane that I didn't notice that. And yeah, I guess it is. So just confirmation that we need to be checking our gear and paying attention to things. Certainly lines are susceptible. I had a pretty wild incident a bunch of years ago on a wing that I'd put in the ocean quite a few times because we were doing a lot of towing with the boat, and then flew in beer and had a weird parachutal incident where it was later determined that my wing was just so out of trim and because of all the salt water. So these are little things that can be big things. So there you go. Check your gear. I think the takeaways from that one are still pretty on. The other important thing is the insurance space, which is something I talk about quite a bit because I think it's so important. As Miles, our editor, says, not having insurance is like flying without a reserve, which I totally agree. That space has changed pretty radically as of late. Garmin, as you know, bought out Geos a couple years ago, but Geos has still offered their insurance and their high-risk benefit, and they're basically very similar coverage of kind of MedJet, but all of that insurance now is gone. When you hit your SOS, it still notifies the IERCC. They will come do the search and rescue, but the insurance side of it is gone, except for the SOS. When you hit your SOS, you can still get the high-risk benefit, so it's called the same thing as it used to, but it's through Garmin. It's quite a bit more expensive, unfortunately. It's $299 a year, but there is an exclusion for paragliding and hang gliding. If you hit your SOS and you're partaking in free flight, you could be up for a massive bill. So make sure this often falls outside of your standard insurance because there's a search component of it. And then many people, you now can, if you have Global Rescue or another repatriation kind of service like that, you all know I'm a big fan of Global Rescue. They're fantastic, and I'm constantly getting emails from people who have used them and have really good feedback about that, and it's all worked out. So I think they're the best out there in terms of repatriation, getting you home if you've had something happen. You can put in the SOS notes that you have a Global Rescue membership, and in theory, the IERCC will notify Global Rescue, but this is still a massive gray zone. It depends on who you talk to at the IERCC. It depends on who you talk to at Garmin. So by far the safest bet is to still have that high risk benefit. Even though it's $299 a year, that's pretty cheap insurance in case you have to use it. The other thing is that when you press your SOS on a spot, they no longer fall under the IERCC. They're having to, I don't actually even understand. I haven't looked into it closely enough, but yet another reason to have an inReach. But spot is also kind of in a gray area now. If you hit that SOS, they're trying to use their own emergency services. So I think that's a little risky right now. There is a flow chart on the article on my website. If you go to cloudbasedmayhem.com and just put in the search term insurance, you'll see the article. I've just updated everything. There are these changes and more, and then there's a flow chart at the bottom of that that kind of steps you through, if you're still confused, what you need depending on what you're doing. There's also potentially a new insurance arm. One of the offerings from IMG, I have always recommended IMG Signature, but that hasn't covered competitions. They now have one that maybe does, and I don't have that in there yet because I'm still doing some research, but stay tuned for that. Philipp Zellner is my guest today. He's a pilot from Austria. If you're an ex-contest junkie like I am, you have seen his name pop up again and again. He's constantly breaking records. Longtime acro pilot and tandem pilot. He flies tandems all summer at his business to roll air in Austria, and then takes off for the winter and just chases it. And that's what he was doing when we had this chat. He had just broken the India FAI record, 234K, a monster out in beer. And then 2 days later, unfortunately after we'd already recorded the show, he broke it again, went even bigger at 255. So this is all about his flight and his experiences and his signature ground spiral tip drag and just chasing it. He had a record, I'm not sure it still stands because I think it got broken this season, but out in Valle, and he has a lot of fun and goes for it pretty big, and was very interesting to speak with. So enjoy this chat with Philipp Zellner, who just broke the FAI record in India, and check out those previous shows. And thanks for listening. Cheers. Philipp, it's nice to be speaking to you just about 48 hours after this monster flight you just did. Congratulations, man. That was wicked to see. 235 FAI, the new record in beer for FAI. And what a route, man. Way out past Dharamsala and then way deep north of Manali. It looked like you were well above 18 grand. It looks at a couple times. That must have been just stunning. It seems like these big ones go down in the spring, but congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very nice to fly this big 3-angle. I did already last year, but then Kubo come and he make like 500 meters more, and I know I come this year also, and I say, okay, this will be my new project this year.
Nice. I was talking about this just the other night, right after you'd done it, with a good friend of mine who's been following you on social media for a long time. And the first thing he wanted me to ask you is this all you do? Just go around and chase big flights? Because you've been putting down a lot of these. You've got that signature wingtip drag at the end of your flight, and which obviously from your acro training, which we'll get into. But tell the audience a little bit about your life. What are you doing these days to pay for all this, and how? It seems like you're chasing it pretty hard.
Yeah, it's like more or less I have a tandem company since 5 years now. And before I was also flying tandem. So when I was flying like 2009, I started. And then after 2 years, the teacher who told me, or who showed me flying, he was asking me if I want to work for him. I make all the license and everything, and then I was working for him. Now I have my own company, so I work only in the summer, and in the winter time I take my time off.
And the world kind of seems like your oyster. You put down a big one in Valle. Do you kind of have things mapped out in the summer when you're not doing tandems? Are you deciding on your travel plans for the winter? Or you just said you've been to beer every year for maybe 10 years. Is that kind of just a normal stop?
Yeah, this is like, I like to fly bivouac, and for the winter or for October, it's very nice time to be here. And now I have already lots of friends here that I hang out with and fly bivouac and enjoy the life here. So it's a good place to fly in October.
It's so reliable. I've only been twice. It was a long time ago, 2009 and 2011. It's a special place. The Colonels. I was out there with Eddie and Jim and John and those guys. But it's a very special place. Have there been any difficulties with the last time I was there? There was a bunch of problems getting to launch, and there was a lot of kind of bureaucratic stuff going on. Has that all resolved itself?
Yeah, actually, it's not a big problem anymore. I mean, last year they had some tandem accidents and then they locked for 2 months the flying, but it was in the springtime. It was
Hmm.
actually when I did the record, was this the 272 record was the second day when it was open to fly here in Beer.
The flat triangle that you did.
Yeah, the flat triangle, what I did.
So you just did this. Did this flight. You got really tall a couple times. And 235 FAI is is there quite a bit more on the table? Do you think, or are you guys kind of maxing it out at that size?
Yeah, I
How
think,
good was this day? Was it pretty good?
yeah, it was a pretty good day, but I think it should be possible more, of course.
Always, always.
Yeah, I mean, it's the performance of the glider getting better now, and yeah, I think there would be more in it because I think at least you can fly 9 hours now in this time, and I was flying 8 hours. So
Another hour, another
mm.
40K, 45K or something. What was your? I didn't look at that. What was your average speed of the flight?
It was like 30 Ks point something.
Ah, okay. So fast, but not totally screaming. What is your philosophy on? I just know that a lot of people will be questioning or wondering this. What's your philosophy on glider choice for making these big triangles in really tall terrain? I remember John Sylvester used to always say that he liked to bring it back. I think back then when I was flying with him, he was flying the Addict, and just because your ground speeds are so high when you're flying really tall, rather than flying an Enzo or a CCC glider, do you think it's important to back it down a little bit?
For me, actually, I fly now the Sienna because I just saw this in the beginning. Now they make good advertisement, and lots of people bought them.
Yeah, put
No,
put the best pilot in the world on the Zeno and let him go win a World Cup. That was pretty good marketing.
no, and I know the first one was already good, and I thought like second one is also good. I like it very much also.
What are you flying for a harness?
I fly the Woody Valley GTO Light.
And is that what you're bivvying with too? Is the Zeno 2 in the Woody Valley, or do you kick it down to lighter gear for bivvy?
No, I do it with the same gear actually. Before I was flying
Okay.
with the Skywalk X Alps 4, and now I got the Zeno 2. But I will see how I do with when I do all the bivouac because still my Skywalk glider is good, and yeah, of course the Zeno 2 is a little bit more difficult to take off now. You have a little bit more heavy material, so the Skywalk is a little bit easier to take off.
Mm,
So it
mm.
makes, if it's the places are very tricky to take off, I think you have a little bit easier point with it.
Do you do any kind of internal compensation when you're flying in higher terrain? I mean, one of the things that struck me as so amazing about beer is the places you can stick your glider because there's so little wind. It's really amazing. And as opposed to we get that kind of height here where I'm from in Sun Valley, but we're always dealing with wind, and so we really have to give ourselves a lot of margin. But is are there things you're calibrating when you're going from the Alps to beer, and just in terms of safety, risk, margin, any speed, any of those kind of things?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you fly higher gliders, they are much more faster. You are in like if you go in a bad valley, there is a lot of wind, then you have, of course, a little bit more safety. I feel like for myself,
Yeah.
but I mean, it can be also like if you stay in the front ridge, it's not that windy. But if you go back in some other valleys, like when I was flying in the Chamba Valley, not now in this flight, but on the what I did last year, the 272, that was also quite windy. It's not always like there is no wind. It's like in the springtime, it's getting picked up more. The wind picks up.
Mm.
a little bit more. Yeah.
And does valley wind is valley wind more of an issue too in in beer in the spring?
Yeah, valley wind getting much more stronger than in the autumn.
Ah, okay, interesting. So, and is that just because the mountains are sucking harder, or is that a pressure gradient kind of thing?
I think it's because of like of course the thermals getting more stronger now. Sometimes you have like 10 meters climbing. So all the air what comes because of the thermals goes up, all the air have to flow also, and that's why the valley winds are stronger.
Have you flown in the Hansa Valley? Have you flown much in Pakistan as well?
No, I never flew there, but I would like to. But this is always the time when I have to work at home. I have
Doing
to
tandems.
prepare in the yeah, exactly, for tandems. In May I have to prepare all my work, like make advertisement and yeah, be around and prepare everything for the season. So that's why it's difficult. But of course, one time I will take my time off on this day and or on this month, and then I will go there.
Yeah, the Aaron Duragati's flights out there last year were just outrageous. It really makes me want to go. Well, and
Yeah,
Tom and those guys there. It's yeah, it's big terrain. It's beautiful.
yeah. Everyone is telling me, Philip, you should go to Pakistan. You will kill it.
um, before we go to your history in acro, I just wanted to find, and also before we leave this big flight that you just did, you mentioned to me 3 or 4 days before that you were going to do it, that it looked really good. The weather was lining up and that you thought you had a chance, and then you went and pulled it off. Tell us about your kind of preparation, both in forecasting and mental prep and gear prep. What were the things that led up to making this flight possible?
I mean, of course, I always look the weather forecast, but the weather forecast here in India is not that good than in
I
Europe.
was going to
So,
say there's not much.
but still, actually, when I see it's a good weather, every day stay on the takeoff, and I try.
Just try
Sometimes,
every day when you have a good window.
yeah, if you have a good window, you go and try. Otherwise, you fly just another. You don't go for this. What you make a project out of it, then you go for other distance. No.
What are you using for forecasting tools?
Meteo Blue, Windy. Windy have actually 4 different kinds of, and then you look all of them, and then you make your own decision which one could work on. Yeah.
Are you flying with any kind of, are there any wind talkers in that whole system? Are you flying with any kind of wind app in the air, wind alert or something? Windy would work too, I guess. That while you're in the air, is there anything you're checking in real time?
No, not really. I just go always up a fly and check what's gonna happen, and if I feel good, I just go for it. And the more important thing what to have is what I really like to. I have always my tent with me, my sleeping bag, isomat, all the things that I'm like, yeah, I can survive for a couple of days. So if
Yeah.
you have to land somewhere, then there is no problem. No, either you hike up somewhere and then you look for a nice takeoff again and you keep going, or you can survive there in the backside like this.
Tell me more about just difference of what your approach between, flying a big FAI in the Alps versus beer. For example, there's for a long time there's been this really tricky thing with the inReach, because the India doesn't allow satellite devices, and I mean, I know that I think everybody's still using them as just something you don't want to have in your bag and your carry-on kind of thing. But the is there any other kind of thing you really take that's very different? Because in the Alps we've got access to care and food and water literally everywhere. You don't really have to think about that stuff very much.
Yeah, actually, I'm not making big FAE or the big flights in Europe. I do some, but not on the best days. I still have to work. I also have to get somehow money. But yeah, like as I said, my backup is actually my bivouac gear, and that you
Hmm.
carry food for 1 week. I always have with me. This is the biggest backup what I see, and also when I see people flying in the backside, even if it's just the next ridge after Hanuman, just behind the takeoff. I always tell them if I see them without flying the tent and stuff, they should put at least something now that you can survive there, because the access is very difficult. If even if you go more further to the glacier, then can be if you land there, you have to hike maybe 1 or 2 days. Yeah. If just something happen with the landing, you twist your ankle, you will not hike the whole day. So you need something to survive there.
Right. Yeah, you're not just a helicopter away from salvage out there, especially on that back ridge, isn't it? I mean, it's a whole different. You go from front country to really deep, really quick.
Yeah. That's I think it's the most different about Europe now. Of course, in Europe we will also find some lost places, but here they are definitely easy. Just you fly 10 kilometers back, then you're already in the lost place.
What was your cloud base on the big day? And were there a lot of clouds?
Actually, there was not so many clouds. They come when I come back from Manali, then there was some clouds, and I went up to 5-7.
Were you flying with O2?
No,
Did
I'm
you know? Did you get hypoxic at all, or did you feel pretty good?
no, I feel pretty good. I hike a lot here in the mountains. I love to hike as well, so I acclimatize myself always, and yeah, I fly on 5-7 without problem. I think even the highest what I did was last year was 6,550, even with two harness. Yeah,
How cold was it? Must have been freezing.
it was fucking cold. It was very cold. Like if I feel like my glider was not moving too much, I release the brakes and then I just start to shake my hands all the time, because I feel many times I didn't feel my fingers. So you have to take care, no, if you don't feel it, and then you put the blood inside when you turn your hands,
Oh, the pain.
and that it's not starting too much pain. So
Oh,
you move your fingers for a few times, and then you put it up again, and you wait, and then yeah, yeah. Everyone, I guess, have his own technique like that.
yeah. Oh, it's brutal. The Are you flying with kind of over mitts? Are you flying with kind of down over mitts over your gloves, or what's your cold management system?
No, I got from Saleva the big down gloves where they have the Tyrol wool in it. They are
Oh,
pretty good.
okay. And they're mittens,
No, I don't have mittens because
just
I
gloves.
like to I like to
Take a wrap,
yeah take a wrap on the line. So that's why
and that's
it's
good.
with
And gloves are good enough, huh?
yeah,
Well,
for
you
me
just
it's
said not
enough.
quite. The shaking in gloves.
Yeah, they are hard Austrian guys.
Like you said, the acclimatization helps, but I struggle with that. It can be so cold. I've learned over the years too that the more I do it, the more I really, really freeze my fingers, the less well they work every season. I've had some seasons where I've gotten them so bad in the spring that it'll be 3 or 4 months later before I get the feeling back all the way to the tips of my fingers. I'll have a couple in the middle that are just kind of dead from the first knuckle down.
Yeah, this hurts a lot. But yeah, this is the hard moment where you have to go through, no?
It's worth it. You'll warm up eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, after you fly to the hot springs and get
Yeah,
your
there you
fingers
go.
warm.
Yeah, there you go. Uh, Philip, give us your history a little bit. You started flying in 2009, you said?
Yeah, I started flying in 2009, and like the teacher teach me, he told me in the second day that I have a talent for that. And yeah, then after I
Who
have
who was your instructor?
Otto Kahn.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Even he actually just died one month ago.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, he got some cancers and stuff, and if
Oh,
I mean, we know already that it will happen because he was suffering already for a couple of times,
oh,
so
okay.
it was not like a big surprise. It's like this, but was a nice guy. I liked him very much, and
Yeah.
yeah, at least the memory stays now.
So he kind of recognized you had a talent.
Yeah, he told me in the second day, Philip, you have a talent for that, for paragliding.
Ah, okay.
And then in the beginning, because of my friends was all flying a World Cup for acro paragliding, and then they show me and they teach me a lot how to do and what to do. And I remember in the beginning we was only flying straight outside to the landing, and we just make collapse right, collapse left, front collapse, and everything like this. So we was practicing in the beginning a lot with the friends.
And you said you did your first full stall at 50 flights.
Yeah, after 50 flights, I did my first full stall. Even when the other guys just cleaned the flying school, and then they found the book, and then they told me, hey, it was written 50 after the 50 flights you did, or the 50 flight was your first full stall. I even didn't remember.
Give us a basis. 2009. How old were you?
2009, I was 20 years old.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
32
maybe
now,
even
something like
I
that.
started in 2008, I guess it was with
Oh, okay.
19.
30, 30. So you're 33, 34. I have that math right?
33, 33.
33. Okay. And so you got into it. So kind of was the acro the beginning. Were you also XC flying, or was it just mostly acro early on?
No, in the beginning was more the acro. Actually, was only focusing on acro because I liked it. I had lots of fun when the glider was doing some strange thing above me. And yeah, some people were scared, but I was always feeling comfortable, and yeah, I like this very much. After like 1 year, I was making already helico, and we was flying in Organia. We make a road trip with the friends there, and yeah, like this, it keeps going.
Were so was your first big kind of road trip training place Organia? Is that why you got pretty comfortable with training over the dirt, or were you already pretty comfortable at that point?
Actually, I was already comfortable to fly everything above the ground. Just like my first full stall I did above water, but all the other things I learned above ground.
How many times have you thrown your reserve?
I throw it now 5 times.
Really, that's it for and all that acro training, just 5 times?
Yeah, even one time was like I just practice if I like the rescues or not, because
Okay.
we packed a reserve, and then we tried. And one time I land hard with a normal round canopy, and then after I bought the Rogallo because I feel like maybe this is more safe. So actually, this was very funny. And Otto told me, "Yeah, but if you fly normal outside, you will not throw the rescue, you know." And then I click out. So I click out one of the side, and then I throw the reserve. It was very funny.
Wait, you unclipped one side before throwing the reserve?
Yeah, exactly.
How does what happens? I've never seen that.
How you go down fast, very fast.
You kind of do a base jump.
Yeah, I just remember it was just like the glider was above me. It was like just like yeah. But I was already
No.
prepared, so I had already the rescue handle in the hand. So it's not like
Ah, okay. Let's talk about that a little bit. What should people be flying with? Should we all be using quick outs on our XC gear? What's your setup?
I fly actually with normal carabiners on the setups
Okay.
because yeah, I mean it's the same with acro paragliding. When you throw the rescue, mainly I feel like you're faster if you put your glider in, then you're open and do this unclip the safety and then open the click out. I feel like you're much more faster. You're just in the moment that the rescue open, you just grab any line and you're just rubbling and get everything in what you can catch. No.
And what about steerable versus unsteerable? Are you always using a regalo design? You're always using a steerable?
Yeah, I was always using this durable, or mostly, especially for acro, because you sink less. So,
Hmm.
and you land very nicely, or I land a couple of times very nicely with this rescue.
What'd you think about Kevin's video in Organia?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Jesus,
funny
that was
video.
scary. Holy moly. That was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's very scary now if you fall into the glider or even in the lines.
Have you ever been gift wrapped doing your infinity training and stuff? Did that ever happen to you?
Um, Actually, I had a similar situation than Kevin in Guatemala once. I was flying Twisted Infinity, and then it was already it started the day like I was not sure to go to fly, and then people say, "Ah, let's go fly," and I was like, my mind was not for flying, so I just come with sandals and I was flying Twisted Infinity, and I remember I untwist and then was like, should I exit or not? And then I went a little bit on the brake, and then just the glider stopped under me and I fall in the lines. And then I was not in the beginning, I was pulling the lines away to catch my rescue handle. And yeah, it's just I throw the reserve and just open and I stand on the ground.
Yay. Holy shit. So same thing as Kevin, but without the video. Sounds like.
Yeah, I mean there is a video even on my Instagram, but it's from far away and the guy stopped to film because he thought like I gonna be dead, so he stopped to record.
What was the? You have any kind of fear injury or anything from that? Was there any? Was it harder to fly after that, or did it spook you, or were you just pissed at yourself?
No, not really, because I know which mistake I make. No, it was like you're not sure should I exit or not, and this was the mistake. If you know what mistake you make, I always feel like, okay, this was the problem. So I think people only get scared if they don't know what is the problem. No, if you don't know what is the problem, then you get scared and you don't trust your stuff anymore.
We were talking about this in the last show that it seems like if you're kind of in a flow state, it doesn't seem to be very scary if you really, because things happen so slowly when you're in flow state where you understand, you can visualize it as soon as it's happened, and 2 days later or immediately or any time exactly what happened. It doesn't seem like people suffer from fear from that. It's when it's just chaos and you can't put it together.
Yeah, and the life is anyway dangerous. No.
Yep, it is indeed.
Yeah, you go on the
Are,
road, there can be many problems.
yeah, sure. Are you still training pretty serious acro these days, or is it more focused on XC?
No, now I'm more focused on XE. I still like to fly, but I am not flying a lot. But maybe I thought like maybe I will go to another place in the winter, maybe to fly acro. Even in Mexico, I think it's good to fly there. So next year I will bring my gear to Mexico and fly there also a little bit more acro.
Where would you do acro training in Mexico?
I think in Valle should be okay. There is also
Just over the
strong.
piano there, just get up high and over the over the LZ out in front.
Yeah, I think so. I will try to do it that.
It'd be fun to watch. You don't see
Yeah.
many people doing acro there.
Yeah, I know there is not so many people flying acro, but I think it's also a good place. No, I mean you have strong thermals, so it should be possible to thermal with the acro glide a little bit high up and to somehow like yo-yo flying.
Mm. I know a lot of people listening are thinking, "Oh, wow, man, training over the dirt." But that's what we hear from all the best acro pilots. They're all training over the dirt. What's the difference? What do people need to be thinking about if they're going to train over the dirt? What's the rule that you live by?
Yeah, I mean if you practice a new maneuver, I think it's much more better. You just started with the altitude now, and as low as you get, you make the maneuvers what you already know. So
Hmm.
and always keep a backup that you don't do anything under 100 meter. Then I think, or even if you're maybe in the beginning, you say 200 or something like this. but I think this is more or less how I started to do everything. So when I was trying a new maneuver, I say, okay, make it in the beginning. When I have 1,000 meters, I start with the maneuver what I don't know, and then after I practice with the other ones.
If you were going to get into paragliding now, or maybe, some of your tandem clients are super excited and they want to get into flying, what would be the progression you would recommend? Because we've seen lots of pilots like Pal Tackett's and Nanda Prochaska and, guys that start off flying a lot of acro and then switch in a sense to XC. I don't know that you see a lot the other way around, or at least I can't recall. I'm sure there are, but what would be it seems to me having the acro background must really help you to be a better XC pilot just from the confidence level alone. But if you were going to, some young gun comes up to your school and decides, hey, I want to become a pilot, what would you recommend? What's the best way to get to 200 hours and then 1,000 hours, let's say?
Yeah, it helps a lot, no, to do in the beginning the acro stuff. I feel like even all the good XC pilots should even know how to handle a full stall. This would be even the basic for my way of thinking. Because if you have any problem, you can make many solution with the stalling if you're not scared from it, no.
Your signature move, your tip drag at the end of the flight, is that the ground spiral? You see a lot of people mess these up. What's the best way to learn a really consistent ground spiral like you have? And what's the progression there, the sequence there that you don't end up pounding it in? Because that's out of reach for a lot of pilots, doing it consistently and well.
Yeah, in the beginning, probably it's the best to make it even more height. No, you say like I will exit maybe 10 meters above just to get used to get closer to the ground. Of course, the next thing is if there is snowy fields, would be even the best. No, even if you get closer one time or you get every day, you try more closer, more closer, more closer, and if something happen and you have a meter snow, that is not a big deal.
So I started working at these really pretty hard a few years back, training for one of the X Alps. I can't remember which one, but I got pretty good at the tail, the dragging it on the ground and coming out nicely and all of that working. The thing that I never really figured out very well was the orientation from when I started it. Do you know what I mean? In other words, where I would end up. You see the guys, Kriegel and these guys doing it over water where they're dragging their tip and they're way out over the lake and they're able to, very smoothly come back in and come in over the ground. But for me, it's the orientation. Do you have a trick for that in terms of, okay, I'm starting and I'm facing north. Is this just micro adjustments all the way down? Or do you have kind of okay, this is going to take a certain amount of time and this is how steep? It's just always something. In other words, where I come out of the ground spiral is always pretty much a mystery. It's always, ooh, that either worked out really well or, oh, I'm going the wrong way again. I'm going downwind instead of upwind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this I also have sometimes. Mainly it works out, but sometimes, sometimes it's the ground not completely flat. Sometimes you have more wind or you have more speed, you take more faster. Sometimes you just make one turn in the spiral and then you go for a tip touch, so you have less energy. So there is many things what works together.
Yeah. Okay. More practice.
But I also cannot say 100% that I will exit exactly at this point.
Okay, well, that's good to know because sometimes you watch these videos, you're like, geez, they did it perfectly again. But it's good to know that even you can struggle with that kind of thing. So, did you compete in acro for a bit?
No, I was never competing. I'm not too into to compete. I just do it because I like to do it.
Future goals. Tell me about, you just nailed the one in beer. Do you have other places in the world where you want to chase after this next season?
No, actually, I don't know. For sure there will come something new. I feel like, but I cannot tell 100%. I mean, like to me, sounds interesting. Also, Argentina and these places to look what's gonna happen there, and yeah, I will see.
Is it the big flights, or is it the bivy, or something else that keeps you really motivated? I think we all at a certain stage in our flying, it's nice to have goals, or it's nice to have something that really keeps you intrigued. You've sounds like you've done a lot of everything. You've got the tandems, you've got the acro background, you've got the XC, and these big FAIs. Is there, when you think to the next 5 years of flying, what has you the most excited?
I think the most exciting to me it's like the BWay flying. I like this very
Mm.
much. Even like last year, I crossed Nepal and India, like 1,300 kilometers, and I was there completely alone for 13 days, 12 days, 13 days. And this I really enjoy to be there. And even if I'm alone, I really enjoy to be alone there and make my own decisions. And it seems like it works out very well.
Yeah, I can say from doing a couple big bivy trips with other people because of the filming with Red Bull and stuff. It's the Even though the dynamic was really good with my partners, it can be really difficult with other people, just because especially in the Alaska one, there's a lot more weight on the decision making. If no one's ever wrong, and of course you're never going to go, oh man, that was a terrible decision, but it's, when you decide, okay, we're going to hike 3,000 meters up through this brush, and it doesn't work out, and you're carrying really heavy kit, it's, you just feel worse. Whereas when you're by yourself, you get to own all the decisions. And I often find that that's, it's a totally different kind of experience, but it's quite special. I don't know, it, the decision making is easier, I guess. If you're a confident person, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. I also feel like when I go for like the big three angle or for something big, I'm like when I'm alone there, I know what I know to do and I know my skills. So there is not a big surprise, no. But if you take some other people with you or somebody's flying with you, you don't know the skills of them. And as you said, you maybe not on the same level. So yeah, that's why I really enjoy also to fly. I mean, it's also very nice to make some bivouac with my friends and stuff. But if I go for the big things, I always go alone.
Any big lines you're looking at for bivvies?
Yeah, as I said, I think Argentina or something would be nice there.
Do something down the Andes?
Yeah, this would be nice, but yeah, I never know.
Yeah. Antoine's done some really neat things down there. I think it seems to me the tricky part with both Chile and Argentina is just the winds, especially as you get south down into the Patagonia region. I think that can be quite quite difficult to forecast as well as just deal with. It seems like the wind can be tricky.
Yeah, this I heard also that in these places are a lot of wind and yeah, but anyway, you have to check it out and to see if it's possible or not in the end.
Yeah, there's so many. Have you being spending all this time in beer? Have you ever looked at stuff in Tibet or in China?
Yeah, there would be even many nice lines, I guess, but it's very difficult with the permissions, I guess, as well. I never tried, but I can imagine China now is very strict, I guess.
Yeah, I think Hoffa's the guy to connect with there. I think he's living there now. It'd be interesting to see what he thinks. How about Mongolia? Is that something you've had your eye on?
No, I never thought like, but as I said, never know, no. But the thing is, I only have time in the winter time, so it means like from October
Oh yeah, right. Of course.
till May, and in the beginning of May, I have to be at home for preparing for my company for tandems.
Do you instruct too, or is it just tandems?
No, I just do tandems. I like to control by myself. If you're on the radio and you have to trust that the people who are flying, I saw already many bad things, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, no kidding. Orient the listener to where you're from. You said the Tyrol, but for those who don't know Austria, where is it?
Actually, it's yeah, in North Tyrol I live. It's close to Germany. Like if you know Munich, it's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes from Munich.
Okay, so I thought I knew where it was. Now even I'm confused. I always thought the North Tyrol was you talking like Chiemsee and the just the north side of the Alps.
Yeah, exactly. It's north side of
Yeah.
the Alps. So it's like from
Okay.
Chiemsee, it's a little bit more down to the south.
Down. Okay, a little bit more down the south. Okay, so the kind of the Pinzgau region is your backyard.
Yeah.
Amazing flying highway in the Pinzgau. There's big stuff goes down there every year. It's a nice part of the world.
Yeah, like Zillertal is very famous valley now. Even they did the 300, I think Walderdom did the first one over there.
What's your biggest FAI?
Yeah, I think it's the 230,
The
235
one in
now.
beer.
Yeah, that's one in beer.
And that was a record, right?
Yeah, that was the record now.
Yeah. I just had Debu on the show a little while ago. He must be chomping at the bit. He wants to get out there and beat it. I love it that there's quite a gang of you pushing that part of the world pretty hard. Is it tricky coming back from Manali, coming back down south? I guess if you're staying high, it's you're staying out of the valley winds and everything. Is that the hardest leg?
Yeah, that is the thing. Now I started to go early there. So my first turn point was Manali, and I tried to stay high that the valley wind don't catch you. Even when I was
Hmm.
going there, there was not much valley wind, but when I returned, because I saw some fire or some burning stuff down there, some smoke, and then I see, it's already on. So just always try to stay high and keep going.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen in flying since you began in 2008?
Yeah, this with Kevin is quite crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Uh,
yeah. That's an easy one,
um,
isn't it? That was
yeah.
nuts.
But
Holy
yeah,
cow.
also you was anyway speaking about my rescue, the harness mission. No, that was also nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
This wasn't about myself. This was also very nice. I like this story.
What yeah, tell us the rest of it. So you unclipped one side, you threw your reserve, then how did it all shake out from there?
Then I threw the reserve, and then I unclipped the second one, and yeah, and then I landed there,
Oh,
and
then it
the
was normal.
glider. Yeah, then it was everything normal, so it was not a big surprise. But what I was talking about was the what you speak with Debo, no? Because I heard
Oh,
the postcast. This with
was that
the
you?
yeah.
Holy shit. Oh, I didn't put that together that you were the one that landed in the river?
No, I landed not in the river. I was the guy who bring the stuff outside.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, now I got it. That I remember. Holy cow, that was a crazy one. Holy moly.
I like this very much, this story.
Yeah, I was just after that. Let's see. I was just down in Brazil at the World Cup, and somebody was more intimate with that story than we even got on the podcast. And they were saying that he was really the river was moving. He was really in a bad spot that it could have
Yeah,
gone way worse.
it was a very bad spot where he was, and he got very lucky that got stuck on the rock just like 10 meters before it's getting back under the ice. And
Oh,
the river, when I went down there in the morning, it maybe was like 1 meter deep. But I went very early down there, and then even when I was there for half an hour, even the water comes up like maybe 10, 20 centimeters more.
really?
Yeah, because of all these things is melting, and with the sun, and yeah. It's it was very crazy place to see that somebody was landing there. I'm like, oof. Luckily, they got him out with the chopper there.
Amazing. I had an incident very, very, very early on. In fact, I think it was one of my, I don't know, the second or third XC I ever did. And the first one was maybe 6 kilometers. I don't even know if you get to count that, but it was down in the Dominican Republic. And I got blown. I was trying to top land to pee because I had to pee so bad. And I didn't really know how to top land. And I didn't realize how windy it was. And I got blown over the back into this kind of land of the lost box canyon, and I ended up landing in a river where it was surrounded by waterfalls. There was waterfalls upriver for me and waterfalls downriver for me, and the canyon was so narrow that about 200 feet before I landed, I had to pull big ears just to fit. It was this little tiny slot canyon, and I thought, oh, this is it. I'm dead for sure. And I landed in the river, and it was very slow moving, and it was only 6 inches deep. You know, if it had been 10 feet deep, there would be no chance. And so, and then the exit was incredible. I had to throw my gear off all these waterfalls and down climb. It was an amazing adventure. It was you know, and of course I'm on cloud nine because I was alive. But I brought in my friend the next day to take photos just so she could see it,
Yeah.
and you know, she still claimed there's no way you can't. This is an impossible place to have landed. No, I did. I promise. Nah, you didn't. I don't believe it. It sounded kind of like that with him. It was just an impossible place to find yourself, but he
Yeah,
did.
full on. But
Crazy.
luckily everything goes good in the end. No.
And you got all the gear.
Yeah, actually, the glider was maybe he put 10 hours on the glider, but it was completely fucked because it was 4 days in the water because the weather was not good for 4 days. And after the
Oh,
4 days, I flew inside there, land on 4,000, and then I hiked down. I prepared. I've been in the beginning. I make my camp. Then I prepared everything. Even I had 100-meter rope with me, and I was even checking again all the knots, what I should know and which one I have to make. And yeah, then I found a tree, and the next day in the morning I went there, and then I saw a tree, and then I went down with the rope. And when I was down there, I was always on the rope. I was just in case if something happened, I'm safe.
God, it was that steep.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
quite steep.
wow. Amazing. That's crazy. Any other good stories like that from your adventures?
Yeah, actually, when I did 235, when I flew to Manali, you go to the lower, we call it, it's actually Tamsa Pass. And when I crossed there, I was also like, fuck, I'm too low. I cannot manage to jump over this ridge. I'm like, ah, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then you go, and I just have to break my glider to break a little bit that I just can manage to go over. I was already like, should I run there? I'm like, you're stupid. You will not run on 4,000 meters in the snow. And then I just managed to jump over. I'm like, yes. And I was screaming and I was super happy. I'm like, now I go for it. I go for it. I'm on my way.
Was that coming back or going out?
Now, this was in the beginning, I think, even the first 1.5 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Then I was like, now I'm on the way to Manali. It's because this is one of the tricky points as well to go there, especially now this year there is more snow. So even if you fly somewhere and more in the backside, there is the valley higher. It's full of snow, so it's not working that well.
Is this something you really have to pay attention to before you go for spring flying? Is the snowpack? I mean, do you time your trip depending on the snowpack, or do you just go and hopefully it works out?
I mean, you anyway cannot change. No, like this year, they say everyone said it's less snow, and then I arrived and it was 1.5 week full snowing. So it's
Really?
difficult to say 100% there is less snow. But I thought this year would be even better. And if I was thinking to do this line, what I did last year, the 272, but just a little bit more. But for the moment, there is still too much snow.
I had a question for you. We're having not a debate, but we're trying to figure out the kind of rules that the British have posted these about what constitutes closing an FAI triangle. So there's, just like here, if you just do a downwind flight, it's always going to be longer on X contest because they give you 3 points, and so you get more point. And but the way we've always measured it in the States is it's just purely distance from launch. So if you don't fly a directly straight line and you get you do a bit of a curve, that curve doesn't count. It's just from launch to where you land. So the same thing with FAIs. We're trying to determine, because X contest gives you, the 20% bonus for if it's within, or sorry, the 20% bonus. They give you 1.4 for a standard FAI. They give you 1.6 if you're within 5% of closing. But we're trying to come up with I think the Brits have it that you have to close it within 400 meters. So you have to be within 400 meters of launch, or of somewhere on the track that's the close. And that should be what we judge, in a sense, an FAI triangle by, rather than what X contest gives you. Is this something you guys are talking about, or is it something that is also a debate in Europe? I mean, is it the same in Italy as it is in France? Are there different ways to score an FAI?
No, actually, I never thought that. Yeah, actually, I'm not. Since last year, actually, I'm into fly these big three angles or flat ones. So I'm not so focused so much on the points. I'm just looking what how much they flew, and just make it a little bit bigger, or just fly my own line like in Mexico. I just flew a little bit more in the south where nobody was flying, and I thought, like, why is nobody going there? I mean, but it's also like most of the people, they're just focusing on the same what already happened, and they are not. Yeah, I like to be more inspired by myself. I look at the map, I see, okay, I can go there. Maybe why don't go there? And then I figure out the place. But for this FA things, yeah, I know if you close it completely, at the big three angle, you get the 1.6. And if you don't close it, you get 1.4. Then for the flat one, you get also 1.4. I never expect if you make a turn that you will get more, because the thing is to try to fly the straightest line as possible, no?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one just because of the closing. If you're flying a really big FAI, the closing cylinder that X Contest gives you is really big because I'm pretty sure it's 5%. I might be wrong on that. And it's 20% for 1.4, I think, and 5% for the close. And it's
Yeah, I think also it's
you know that
5%.
yeah, and that becomes really big on a big triangle like you did. That close could be, considerably long distance from where you took off, and so it's something that's when you start keeping track of these things, I think it's important to just have a baseline. And so it's interesting. I don't think we've come up with an answer here. It's just I've been trying to ask people to see what they think.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
That doesn't really matter. It's just it's kind of an interesting it's an
Yeah, it's
interesting
anyway also
conversation to have.
the big number. In the end, it's just numbers, no? I mean, I like to fly big things, but in the end, sometimes you make a very small flight, and even in the small flight, you feel much more better than you make a record or something like
Of
this.
course, yeah. The aesthetic can be way more powerful, or the conditions can be, or the aesthetic or the feeling of the day can be a lot better than the numbers.
Yeah, like I remember last year when a friend or one guy flew a 200 here, and I said like, I was flying 20 kilometers with some friends and making bivouac, and they say, "Oh, you saw somebody flew this and that." I'm like, I don't care, man. I just enjoy life, just go for a bivouac with some friends, and yeah, just come back from the hot springs and sleep in Hobbiton. It was super nice, and I was like, I don't care anyway.
Okay, well, an impossible question that maybe you've just answered, but let's end on this. But when you close your eyes and dream at night, what's the most memorable flight? What's the one that you would we can never repeat a flight. It's always going to be different, something's going to be different about it, but what's the one flight that really keeps you coming back to the game?
Yeah, I think this what I did last year, the 272, because this you fly really on the high mountains on the back ridge, and I went like almost to Kashmir to the border, and this was a very nice one. This was, yeah, even everything was so beautiful, and you see on the other valley where the valley goes to Kelong and Udaipur and all these places. This was, yeah, just amazing to fly on these high walls and super steep and narrow valleys. And yeah, I crossed behind Mani Mahesh, and then I come on the south side. I come back on the south side of Mani Mahesh. This is, yeah, very nice route. I like this very much. But of course, if you have a problem there, you have a big problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this was the one that Debu talked about in the podcast, correct? Just because you were pretty deep. You were back on the back ridge the whole way, right?
Yeah, it was pretty deep. But this was very nice one. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Hmm.
And even I was not
Special.
planning, even the more funny thing is I was not planning for it. I was like, just I had my own project to say, okay, I finished to cross Nepal and India. And actually, a day before, I feel not so good. So I say I will land in Beer and the rest, sleep by a friend and rest there a little bit because I had a little bit headache. And then the next day I say, okay, I will go to Kashmir to the border, and then maybe I will sleep somewhere in Chamba Valley. And then a friend of mine, he comes, he was just here for 5 days, and I was like, would like to see him. So I pushed a little bit more. And then in the end, when I jump out of Chalsu Pass, I was looking on my phone and I'm like, oh, I have 241 kilometers. I'm like, what is the record? 260? I don't remember. I'm like, okay, I put some more. So actually, the last maybe 2 hours, I decide, okay, now I make the record.
Awesome. Ah, it just happened. That's amazing. Man, that flight, I was just imagining it's nice that I've been there, so I can kind of picture it a little bit. I was a very new pilot when I was there. So, I think it was the first 100K I ever did there was just Dharamsala and back. But I did my first bivvy ever in my life was with Sylvester there. We flew up,
Oh,
we
nice.
launched beer and went over the back and top landed above Manali and spent the night by the fire, got encased in ice. It was freezing. And then the
Yeah,
next day flew back. And when we flew back over beer, everybody was just getting ready to launch, because we were able to launch it early. I don't know, nine
yeah,
thirty,
very
10
early.
o'clock and boosted up and came back over and everybody was just kind of getting ready, so it was the thing that planted the seed for me of just how epic bivy. I had never done it. I didn't even have a sleeping bag. I just slept in all my stuff that I'd flown in. It
Yeah, I
was
did this
amazing.
also in the beginning, but then I freeze my ears off one time, and then I say,
Oh,
okay, now I will pay my good stuff.
fucking John, he built this fire for us and he had his tea, because he's British and he had his tea and all that stuff. And he was just cozy in his nice warm bag. And I mean, I had my down coat, I had my stuff to fly, and I thought I'd be fine. But my all night, all I did was just keep the fire going and just cuddled. I just circled my whole body around the fire. We just encased in ice. It was so cold. Oh God, it was freezing. Got back to
Uh,
beer at 2 o'clock, had some lunch and went to bed.
yeah, this is now if you're not well prepared. I see also sometimes the people with the very thin mat, and even just
Yeah.
a couple of days ago, I did some bivouac flying in the hot springs, and then the other guy had only the mat for the upper party, not for the feet. So I'm like, why like this?
Oh,
Why you don't have a proper mat? You will no. This is the thing. What is very important for me now. If you sleep good, you fly good also in the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. The people have made so many comments about all the gear that Dave and I had on the Alaska thing. That was for me. Dave left before we got done, but it was 37 days for me, and I had a really, really heavy pack. But that's because you have a lot of down days.
Yeah,
I like to enjoy life. I like food. I like podcasts. I like books. I don't, yeah, I don't shy. I don't mind carrying shit. I load up. I carry a lot of stuff so I'm comfortable and I can sleep well and enjoy my trip. I
yeah.
don't take a very alpine approach.
This is also what I like very much. Even I remember one time when I did the like border cross, it's like you have 33 hours, and who
Yeah.
goes on the furthest point and come back, who wins. And I remember when I was hiking the takeoff, I prepared everything. I put music outside, and then people was there, and then they say, "Where you bring speakers with you?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm always flying with speakers, but your supporter bring?" I'm like, "I don't have any supporter." Of course, I carry by myself. And it was like super like disappointing. Like, but you're carrying these big speakers with you.
I think that can be, we talked about this a little bit, but I think that can be one of the more frustrating things about doing, expeditions or baby trips or anything with other people is the, for me, I'm never in a hurry to do them. I don't want to get to the end. I'm not in any desire to reach goal because I've spent so much time just being able to do it, whether that's work or preparation or having the time to do it or you getting away from the family. So the last thing I want to do is race through and get done.
Yeah,
I'm having fun. I'm having fun doing it. So if the weather's shit, I don't want to walk all day. I do that in the X Alps. I want to sit there and throw rocks at my shoes and be perfectly content because I'm in this beautiful place that I've worked so hard to get to. I don't want to race through it and get to the end, but inevitably when you're with other people, if they do, then it's a source of conflict. It's just yeah. Anyway, that's always been a big difference with when I'm with other people doing things is they want to get it done, and I don't
yeah,
want to get it done. We're out there in the environment that we love. I don't want to finish.
yeah. And even if there is a project now, if you don't finish, there is also not a big problem. No, I mean, then you
That's
come
it.
next time and try again, or I say you do a new one, or like the same they did no. Dondolodor and Horacio, they did also like they didn't make it to the goal what they had to, no.
Yeah.
But they make a really
That's
nice story out of it, and it looks very good, no.
yeah. It's amazing. That's some phenomenal flying. Aaron's too is just mind blowing. It was very cool.
Yeah,
It's a big
uh,
flight. I think often these big flights go down that way. It's not necessarily. Usually when I have a big flight planned, it doesn't go that way, and I have a harder time than being flexible and flying the conditions rather than the plan that I've set for myself. I think it's often if you're going to have a really big day if you just fly the sky.
yeah. It is many times like this, no. If you plan too much and if you too much focus on it, then it will be not happening. No, I always feel like if you take it more easy and see, yeah, yeah, maybe today I will see, and then it's gonna happen. No, it was like same in Mexico. I arrived there. It was very funny. I just remember when I drove up with Potro, and then he was asking which glider you're flying. I'm like Sino 2, but then he was asking me, and you like it? I'm like, I don't know. It's my first time I use this glider, and he like, there is strong condition here. I say, no problem. And yeah, then I missed like 4 kilometers. I missed the record in my first day in Mexico flying. This was very nice too.
Yeah. I think in a sense that because you hadn't been there a ton, I'm sure that helped. It's never the local hero that gets the records. Because you pushed farther south, we're always told never to go there because of the cartels. And there's it gets pretty dicey on the south side of Mordor apparently if you land. And so if you don't know that and then you don't land, you're fine.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't gonna go late there at
Yeah,
1 o'clock,
exactly.
no?
That's it. Well, that's it. You're not gonna land. That's the thing about
Yeah,
playa. You're not. There's thermals everywhere. You're not gonna land.
and I mean, I'm even thinking, even if there is all the cartels, I mean, in the worst case, what they do you, I mean, I think they will not kill you, no? I mean, and if it's like this, you're just in bad timing in a bad place, but this can be happen everywhere, no? Even on the road, you go somewhere, there is maybe some drunk people or something, and or somebody's driving crazy, and then you're not anymore there. So if I'm not thinking too much on bad things. I believe if I'm thinking on good things will be happening. If I'm thinking too much, wow, Mexico, they will steal me. Of course, then they will steal you. No, you attract them a little bit.
Sure.
This is my mind.
It's a good mindset. I like it. And a perfect place to end. Philip, thanks very much. I appreciate your time and making this happen on the other side of the world. And how much longer are you there for? Are you going to get some more chances to go with this, or your trip's wrapping up?
Yeah, I'm going back home in 4th of May.
Oh, you got some time. You got plenty of time.
Yeah, a little bit. I have more, almost 4
Nice.
months.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll keep an eye on you. Good luck, and I hope you get some more terrific flights. Be safe
Yeah,
over there and have fun.
yeah, thank you very much, Kevin, and nice to hear from you. And yeah, maybe we see us one time more.
Absolutely. See you at Cloudbase, bud. That was a pleasure.
Very good. Thank you. Bye.
If you find the Cloud-Based Mayhem valuable, you can support it in a lot of different ways. You can give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or however you get your podcast. That goes a long ways and helps spread the word. You can blog about it on your own website or share it on social media. You can talk about it on the way up to launch with your pilot friends. I know a lot of interesting conversations have happened that way. And of course, you can support us financially. This show does take a lot of time, a lot of editing, a lot of storage and music and all kinds of behind the scenes cost. So if you can support us financially, all we've ever asked for is $1 a show. And you can do that through a one-time donation through PayPal, or you can set up a subscription service that charges you for each show that comes out. We put a new show out every 2 weeks. So for example, if you did $1 a show and every 2 weeks, it'd be about $25 a year. So way cheaper than a magazine subscription, and it makes all of this possible. I do not want to fund this show with advertising or sponsors. We get asked about that pretty frequently, but for a whole bunch of different reasons, which I've said many times on the show, I don't want to do that. I don't like having that stuff at the front of the show. And I also want you to know that these are authentic conversations with real people, and these are just our opinions, but our opinions are not being skewed by sponsors or advertising dollars. I think that's a pretty toxic business model. So I hope you dig that. You can support us. If you go to cloudbasedmayhem.com, you can find the places to support. You can do it through patreon.com/cloudbasedmayhem. If you want a recurring subscription, you can also do that directly through the website. We've tried to make it really easy, and that will give you access to all the bonus material, little video casts that we do, and extra little nuggets that we find in conversations that don't make it into the main show, but we feel like you should hear. We don't put any of that behind a paywall. If you can't afford to support us, then just let me know and I'll set you up with an account. Of course, that'll be lifetime, and hopefully you're being in a position someday to be able to support us. But you'll find all that on the website. All of you who have supported us or even joined our newsletter or bought Cloud-Based Mayhem merchandise, t-shirts or hats or anything, you should be all set up. You should have an account, and you should be able to access all that bonus material now. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you.